Okay, mic check 1 2 1 2. Let me know you can hear the mic, please. Okay, welcome everyone to the Pro Trader and Plus CB Consumer Confidence. My name is Lee Goldstein. I'm the trading director for 10-Minute Trades. Please remember all the trades we discuss are for educational purposes. I'm not a financial advisor. It is possible to lose money trading futures, so trade carefully, please. Okay, hello everyone. We are back.
So
We
1 minute
were
now
here
until the
at
market on
midnight,
open imbalance, as well as the US cash
and
equity
it really
open.
wasn't much of an event. The market barely moved for the Australia rate statement. When the news was announced, we had an 18 tick bracket, and really all you needed last night. Langford was watching and calculated a 5 tick bracket would have been just fine. Just not the kind of move that we were certainly expecting. So sometimes you wait hours and hours and hours for a setup and nothing happens. Now the markets are just getting ready to open here. We have consumer confidence trading with Richmond manufacturing, which is one of the Fed reports. Beige Book, Richmond Manufacturing, Chicago PMI, uh, the New York,
So we are looking now
there's
until
a
the
New
market
York
on open imbalance. The
report as
S&P
well.
500 buy side
And
95
Richmond
million,
and I
Nasdaq
never use
consensus
the
sell
word
side
always
15
in
million,
trading.
Dow 30
Richmond
buy side of
always
7 million, and Mag
releases
7
early.
sell side of
It
10 million.
usually doesn't have a very big effect on the market. I did notice, I believe it was last month, it actually was very, very unexpected offset, meaning the news was very different than what was expected. It actually had a minor effect on the market. Usually, Richmond doesn't do anything. It's a pretty minimal report. But the one thing you'll notice it's going to come out early. And we see that happen over and over and over again. It's been for years. So it's one of the few times I'll use the word always. Richmond will always come out early. And it'll surprise us one day and it won't. I want to welcome everyone who's watching us on YouTube. We are streaming this morning, looking at the laptop, make sure everything's working. Everything seems to be just fine. It's a lot of technology to stream the trade room, YouTube, charts. I have to make sure I use the right account. You have to make sure you connect all your accounts. Okay. Markets will calm down in time for us to trade consumer confidence. Now, what's interesting about consumer confidence is the gold breakout has been working, but the gold breakout, there's no question the gold breakout can be very whippy. I don't want to show the weekly schedule. The gold breakout can be whippy, and I definitely like the ES trap trade for this report. That's actually what I'm going to be trading is the trap trade. Now, I've got to find our DMM, which has disappeared on me. So give me a second to find it. I have so many files that I'm working with. Let's see, where did it go? So what do you do if you can't find the DMM? What would you do? You know what I would do? The fastest thing that I could actually do is to just download the DMM from the member website because it's posted. People always forget that the DMM is posted on the member website. So that's what I'm doing right now as I'm talking. You don't even know in the background what I'm doing, but I must have accidentally put the DMM into my trash because the Australia trade was over, just forgetting that there were a whole bunch of other reports on the DMM. So I just downloaded it from the website. And you all can do that too. Don't forget, if you're a trade room member and if you're a member of the pro service, right, then the DMM, you have them available to you. And we post them on the website. Not everybody gets emails perfectly.
Moody's commentator
Sometimes
Robert
emails,
Blackton
sometimes
has
the
posted that counterparty
URLs, the
choices will
ISPs
reframe the credit
block
risks across a wide
emails for
range of
whatever
asset
reason.
issuers.
One of the most common things that happens that people don't realize. Maybe years ago, you requested to be taken off of our email list. If you make a request to be taken off an email list in this day and age, it's really hard to get put back on. You get put on a list that doesn't allow us to send you emails. So if you were, maybe you were annoyed at one time, you didn't like the amount of emails we were sending, or you just didn't want to get emails. You weren't trading, news trading anymore. People don't realize that sometimes it's because they requested no emails. That's why the DMMs don't arrive. Anyway, make a long story short, we put them on the website because we recognize in this day and age, with security and phishing. And I don't mean FISH, I mean PHISH, fake emails, scamming. It's unbelievable what goes on in the world today. So the best thing to do is get product from the source, which would be our website. Okay. And we're pretty good about making sure the DMMs are up there. As a general rule, you can pretty much count on them being up there by 5 p.m. Eastern time. And I would say usually they're up earlier. You could see here that we have the consumer confidence DMM. The gold setup is up top. It's a 12 bracket, 10 and 25 on the targets. The stop is 15. And you can see it's been trading well. But I will just give everyone a heads up on gold. It can be whippy. I mean, that is the nature of gold. The trap trade is very interesting on the ES. It survives these settings with or without jolts. So, what do I mean by that? CB Consumer, remember what was that show? What do I mean by that? It was a ridiculously stupid TV show or something where that was their iconic phrase. I don't remember what it was. I bet if you Google it, it'll tell you. Anyway, what I was going to say. So the CB Consumer Confidence Report has had a couple of instances where it has traded with jolts in January and in July. In July, the ES trap trade worked just the way it does, whether it traded with jolts or not. That's a very strong endorsement of using the ES trap. Now, as a heads up, we always let people know that, of course, we can't guarantee that the setups are going to work. Anything can happen during a trade, but what we are basing our setups on isn't just random. Oh, I think I'll do this. I think I'll do that. We're doing some serious research and testing. And if we go back quite far on the ES and the way it's been working with CB consumer confidence, yes, you have a few no reversals, and that can happen. And you also have a jolts in July that worked. Now, interestingly, January 30th was not a reversal, okay? But if you go back, we're going back 18 months. We got one, two, three, four, five, six, without counting all of these. It's almost 18 months worth of data. And our setup would be viable for all that amount of time. We don't require 18 months of a setup to work. You know, if we get a setup in these volatile markets that's working 3 out of 4, 3 out of 5, 5 out of 7, 5 out of 8, those are reasonable numbers to work with a setup. Obviously, if you're getting many winners out of the setup, like we've been seeing with the gold setup on consumer confidence, it becomes a family money trade. But I've done some testing on that ES setup, and that setup is very, very good also. And I like trap trades, especially in these markets. These markets can be whippy at times, and I do like trading the trap. So I don't have any problem trading the trap trade for this setup. And in fact, that's what I'm doing. So my setup, I'm going to right click the chart. I'm going to click on the trap trade. The stop is 15. If you are concerned about there being a bigger move than what you think, one thing you could do on this setup, if you wanted to, you could use a stop of 20 if you wanted to. All the testing that we've done, 15 seemed to be the perfect size stop. Don't forget that we label the setup, trap ES. And we've got position size 1 is a 1. That means one contract. We've got position size 2 is a 1. That means a second contract. And then we have the stop is 15. Tier 1 is 12. And tier 2 is 20. And then the time of the event, this is a 10 o'clock event. If you're using the old software, not the old software, if you're using the previous version, version 10, then you're going to use the time exactly 10 o'clock Eastern time. And you're going to use 5 seconds of prep. What does that mean? That means your orders are going to be put on the chart 5 seconds before the news is released. With the new version of the software, we've just made it easier to deal with time. No more prep seconds. You just put your orders on the chart exactly when you type in the time, exactly that time. So it's 9:50, 9:55 with the current version of the software. 9:50, 9:55. Okay, very simple setup. Position size 1 is a 1. Position size 2 is a 1. The stop is 15. Tier 1 is a 12. Tier 2 is a 20. Like I said, if you want to use a stop of 20, you absolutely can do it. It gives you 5 extra ticks of safety. You can always move the stop down. And then make sure you just choose the account that you're trading in. Apply it and okay it. You can save your template if you want to after you apply it. So if I'm going to save a template, I'm going to call it Consumer Confidence. To save space, I could just call it CB. There's no other report that I can think of that starts with CB. CBES, today's date. And I know I've got a trap trade based on today's date, 9/24. And then I save it. I can always load that template in to see what it was. And then I okay it. Make sure that your charts match the account that you're trading. All right. And then I'll also set up a sim on the gold. I'm only trading one trade at a time most of the time. It can be tricky to trade a trap trade live and a breakout trade live. So it's everybody's own personal decision. If you want to trade multiple setups, if you put a setup on a different chart and it's a different instrument, you can trade 2 different setups. Don't get screwed up and don't trade the same instrument with 2 different setups. That can screw up both trades. So if you're going to trade the gold setup, the trigger time, the activation is 9:59, 59. Position size 1 is a 1, unless you want to trade more contracts. Position size 2 is a 1. Again, that's the number of contracts you're trading for each position. Profit target 1, you can use targets anywhere between, I think anywhere between 8 and 40 is reasonable on this trade. You know, you can follow the DMM exactly. Remember what we always say about targets. Targets are not burned into stone. Targets are malleable. They are changeable. Everyone doesn't have to use the exact same targets. Targets are often a range. You can use the DMM, the report, to look at the kinds of moves this report has had when it has had winners. And you could look, well, we've had 39 ticks, we've had 55 ticks. We actually look like we're in a little bit bigger trend of targets right now. Although in June there was a canceled trade because there wasn't much of a reaction. But it does look like there's a little bit of a trend starting where maybe the targets, it's moving more on this event with gold. So you can use the DMM to give you some ideas of what the target might be. So I'll use the DMM targets 10 and 25. The stop is 15. And this report definitely can chop a lot, especially because I won't be managing this report. I'll use break even -4 on the target one stop move. That just simply means if it hits my first target, the target will automatically move to break even -4. Then I'll do what we always do. We'll go down and we'll label the trade BRK for breakout. And I'll also set the time to 0 for a moment on the gold, apply it, okay it. And now when I enable my gold trade,
Order submitted.
we get
Order
brackets.
canceled.
See how tight those brackets? They're too tight. It's hard to manage a trade when the brackets are that tight. Also, I do notice there's a high of the day above us. It's about little less than $8 away. Absolutely could be hit
Order submitted.
on this
Order
report.
canceled.
It's possible. It's possible. It is far. It is far. But I think gold's a little bit bullish at the moment. I think at some point during the morning, gold's going to go and test that high. So for all the folks that are learning about the magnet trade and using the magnet trade, that's a potential magnet test to the high. All right, so everyone should have their trades set up. Now, time. Don't forget about time, right? Go to the website time is, and make sure that your time is in sync. In the trade room drive, that folder, there are programs, and we go over all of this all the time. Regular members are bored to death of hearing me say these things over and over. But there are files in that room drive, D4 time for one, and PT sync for another, that will help you put your computers in sync. Make sure you use them if your computer doesn't go in sync. If your computer doesn't sync, you don't want to trade, because think about it. Sometimes 1 second out of sync could be the difference between a winning trade and a losing trade. We're dealing with seconds sometimes in the way we put our orders on the chart. Oh, it's so nice to have Pumpkin back in town. Pumpkin is back in town. Pumpkin, I just bought a pair of pumpkin sneakers. Everything is pumpkin. Pumpkin sneakers. It's a little bit much. All right. Make sure if you're trading the trap trade that your charts are wide enough so that you see all the buttons. Break even button, close the outer tier button, adjust, which we're not using currently, but it's still there. Sorry, close the trade. Let me start from scratch. BE, break even button. Close the trade button. Break even button. Close the trade button. Adjust, currently not being used. Cancel the outer tier if you only get one order filled. In order to be able to move your stop to safety, you may have to cancel that outer tier. You will have to cancel that outer tier. So keep that in mind. If only one order is filled, not both, and you want to get your stop to safety, you'll need to move and get rid of that order. And that's what the cancel button does. Combine is the final button you'll see. And that button combines multiple orders into one using the closest order to the current price. Putting my time back to normal on the breakout. 9:59.59 is our trigger. Okay, and now we're ready to go. We've got a few minutes, so let me show you
At
what
10
happened
a.m.
last
Eastern
month.
Time, we get USCB consumer confidence forecast
No
104,
idea
prior 103
what I
spot
think
3,
the news
range
is
of
going to be.
105 spot 5 to 101.
I'm
The
thinking
Richmond
gold's going
Fed
to
Core
go
Set
up. That
Index
would be
forecast minus 12
negative
on the prior,
news if
minus
the markets
19.
work the way we expect them to on negative news for gold. Only saying that because there's a trend in gold to the upside right now. It's not huge. Okay, it's not $30. Gold on the right, ES on the left. Now, gold had a pretty muted move in August also, but then you'll see it's going to push down, at least if my memory is correct. That's what it did. Yep. Pushes down, hits the first target, stop moves to safety. And that's always a question. Do you want to move your stop to safety? What that means is if it changes direction and it takes you out, you'll have some profit under most circumstances. Gold took its time, but you had an opportunity now to move your stop into even more profit, possibly somewhere near the VWAP there, right? Pretty choppy movement on gold, but got to the place you wanted it to go, hit both targets. And then let's take a look at June. I don't have July. July was jolts. So for the gold trade, it would not be analyzed because jolts is a major influence on any report that it trades with, and it changes the analysis completely. The setup would be different. Everything about trading with jolts is different. Now, if I remember correctly, June was a no move, which very unusual for consumer confidence. So let's see what happens. Just watching previous behavior, webcams flying all over the place. Now, if you notice, the ES filled one tier. Now, if it keeps going up, it could fill that second tier. Okay, right now it's not going in your direction. Gold looks like it was canceled on the June trade. The ES goes up and it hits the second tier. So that means it fills both. What you would do now is bring your orders up a bit. Remember, the orders are now, they were originally the targets are your previous orders. And they're often, not always, but most of the time, they need to be
Fed
shrunk
chairman says it's hard for
because
the
they're
Fed
too
to measure
far
the
away
impact of immigration on the
to
labor
be
market.
good targets. Usually they're a little bit too far away, so you want to bring them towards a fill. Okay. And it took its time reversing, but if my memory is correct, it did reverse. And there it goes, starting to reverse. You're able to get your stop to safety there. And it did not, it was not the most phenomenal reversal I ever
At 10
saw,
a.m.,
but as
in
long as you
fact, the
got your stop to
USCB Consumer
safety,
Confidence
you were
forecast
able to get out of
104,
that trade
prior
with a profit
103
right
spot
in here,
3, with a range of
right in there.
105 spot
There
5 to
was profit
101.
available.
And Richmond Fed Composite Index forecast minus 12, with
Richmond
prior minus
Fed,
19.
they're looking for negative 13. Watch how it's going to come out early. Let me just look at one more thing here. I'm just looking at some of my notes. So gold can be a volatile instrument to trade. Okay. I think everybody knows that. I do believe, and the possibility is even stronger, that we're going to get a test of gold. Now, we might want to put on a secondary gold trade. The problem, well, let's not make it a problem. Putting on a secondary gold trade, all right? I'm going to call it a reverse continuation. One position, a 20 tick target, and a 15 tick stop. And I'm going to label it reverse, reverse. I'm going to put it on my Buell Knox account, but we're not going to see, I'm not going to, I have to remember if I use this, I must remember to change the account to Buell Knox. Right now, we're watching the gold breakout on Sim, okay? So if I use that gold setup, if I forget to put my chart on Buell Knox, type in, hey, put your chart on Buell Knox. Don't forget, somebody's probably out there just watching, not trading. Well, you can be my eyes and ears because I got three different things going on. Sometimes, you just lose track. We're all just human. The ES, maybe it's going to test the low on this trade. Something that we originally didn't think to do with the magnet setup was trade news. We've traded around the news with it. Certainly possible you could get a test of the low. So we've got 2 minutes. Remember something about the trap trade. If your charts are too wide, you might not see your orders. So if you just see the line, the trade line, don't panic. Just shrink down your chart so you can see your orders. What I don't like to do is have it so scrunched that all the orders are on top of each other. So I tend to make my charts wide horizontally and vertically so that I make sure I see the orders on the trap trade. On the breakouts, we look at our brackets and we usually set up our charts in a way that we can manage the
1 minute
breakout trade.
remaining. I'll lead with USCB
There
Consumer
is a
Price
trick
Index.
if you want to experiment, not at the exact moment you're doing a new trade, but when you press the F button, it puts your charts in a mode that you'll see the price no matter where the price goes to. And some traders like to set up their trades that way. There's Richmond. It's pretty
Richmond Fed
negative.
Composite Index coming in early at
What did I
minus
say?
21, minus 21, with
Richmond would
forecast
be
minus
early.
12.
Richmond would be early. And it did not disappoint us. Richmond came out early.
10 seconds.
There
Order
are orders.
submitted.
There's our orders, a little bit scrunched.
Order submitted.
Okay, the
Order
news comes
filled.
out.
98.7,
Order filled.
98.7, lower
Gold
than
looked
forecast
pretty good.
104.
Now the ES, let's see if we get a fill. We're just not getting
Seeing
much
some
of a move.
downside in the dollar.
Not getting a move.
Order
There we
canceled.
go. We got our fill. Now I don't have to cancel anything
Order
yet.
filled.
Downside,
If it
yes.
keeps going down, we'll be in trouble. If we get a reversal, then we will get some money in our account. I've moved my orders up. Notice how I moved my orders up. If we get a change in direction, then we should get our orders hit. Almost every one of these trades worked. The news is pretty negative. That makes me want to combine my ES orders because I'm a little bit worried. I'm extremely worried that this is going to stop us out because the news is so
So
negative. I think this
USD June
trap is going to
19th
fail.
prior revised 105.6.
It's possible. It's possible. I'm extremely worried about it. That's very negative news. Very negative news. All you can do when you're in a trade, though, is wait and be patient. If we get that change, like we're seeing here, it's trying to push up, but I am concerned that it may not get us into a great place. I always would like to wait for profit to get out. So we're going to I'm just waiting. The gold trade looked like it pushed up in one direction. So anyone who traded gold, you can report in what happened to you on the trade.
So US Treasury yields pair gains after weaker than expected US consumer confidence. 10-year yields still up 3.4 basis points at
So we tested the low.
3.773%.
If it keeps going down, I will get stopped out. If it doesn't start moving up better than it's doing, we need to get up above our entry. That's what we need, above our entry. And it's definitely struggling, and it's struggling because the news is very, very negative. They were expecting 103 on consumer confidence, and we didn't get anywhere near that. They got 98.7. That's a struggle. I'm definitely worried. This is
Order
it.
filled.
Yep, did not work. Did not work. So
Order
that's the
canceled.
risk
Now
you
Order
take. That's
canceled.
the risk you take with a
5.78%.
trap. That's the first trap in month after month after month that did not work. It looked like the gold trap worked. Now gold's deciding to do a big change in direction. Look at the change in direction on gold now. Okay, looks like gold, everybody trading the gold breakout worked today. And it's unfortunate the ES trap did not work. And it is what it is. That's what I decided I wanted to trade. So I have to live with my decision to trade the trap. Now, I want to thank everybody that watched us on YouTube. Members, stay in the room. We're not totally finished here. I want to thank everybody on YouTube for joining with us. We'll be streaming again this week. So definitely check in on us, check your email, check our notification bell, hit the like button. We're going to turn off our stream. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.